Is the current bird flu outbreak a natural disaster or are humans to blame? One doctor says humans are to blame. Today, we explore the controversial findings shared by Dr. Peter McCullough, a leading expert in
We've handed over
epidemiology
our
and
food
public
security
health.
to someone else, and they're here to help you take it back. It's the Farm to Table Direct Show with Ryan and Keith.
Hello, everyone. This is Keith with the Farm to Table Direct Show. And of course, over here to the left of me is my brother, Ryan.
Hey, everybody.
And behind the control center over there is Dakota, otherwise known as Mr. P.
What up?
And tonight we're going to get into a rather touchy topic,
It's a hot issue, that's for a fact. And
and it may be becoming a little bit hotter.
Well, it's a can of worms.
It is, and we're about to open it up.
It's a good old can of worms.
So anyway, largely what we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be looking at the claims of Dr. Peter McCullough. He is a respected doctor that is an internist, a cardiologist, an epidemiologist, and a prolific researcher with more than 51 peer-reviewed publications.
Say that real fast.
I couldn't.
Big words.
Right. And so, just kind of jumping into this a little bit, he claims that this most recent bird flu or avian influenza is as a result of gain of function. Which,
as we've heard in the past few years, is a big issue.
It is a big issue.
It's a bold claim to make.
Well, it's a controversial issue.
Controversial.
Right?
It's hot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So instead of just me talking about it, let's see what Dr. McCullough has to say about that. Cut one,
Doctor
Mr. Dakota.
Let's go.
Bird flu or H5N1 influenza has been around for over 100 years, well documented in the scientific literature in the United States. The most recent outbreak, which is now 4 years old, we've published, McCullough Foundation has published with first author Nick Holscher, an epidemiologist, in the journal Poultry, Fisheries, and Wildlife Sciences, peer-reviewed journal, that the current strain of bird flu is a product of gain-of-function research done in the USDA Poultry Research Laboratory in Athens, Georgia. So it is a man-made problem that our farms are experiencing.
So there you have it.
Straight from the doc's mouth.
Right. Yeah. So gain of function. And for some people, they may want to know, what is gain of function? Of course, as opposed to just taking somebody's word for it, I went out and I did a little bit of research.
Okay.
And I'm just going to do a little screen share here real quick. And
here he goes.
Maybe.
That one, yeah.
Okay, so the first question that I had is is there anything out there that is official that could tell us that even gain of function is a real thing? Because I do remember in some Senate hearings that there was a denial about gain of function.
Right.
And so I wanted to know, well, is there any official documentation? And of course, under President Obama, they had halted it. And right here, this is at a.gov, that is phe.gov, and it's under documents and gain of function.pdf. And this was what it's saying here. U.S. government gain of function deliberative process and research funding pause on selected gain of function research involving influenza, MERS, and SARS viruses. And now I'll just go back over here and maybe share one other thing. And that is U.S. suspends risky disease research. And I'll just read just a little bit down here in this bottom section right here where it's talking about the U.S. government surprised many researchers on October the 17th when it announced that it will be temporarily stopping the funding of new research that makes certain viruses more deadly and transmissible. Now, this like I said, this happened under Obama that they did, and I had heard that they did. Now, here is not just an article, but we also have the I guess I'm still sharing the wrong thing over there to you guys. Sorry.
Well, yeah.
That's the one that I
Yeah.
wanted to share with you guys.
That's it.
But anyway, U.S. suspends risky disease research. And basically both of those documents says the same thing, roughly.
Well, if what Dr. McCullough says and what things appear to lean towards, it's got massive implications for farmers, consumers, and policymakers. I mean, for everybody, this has massive implications.
Yeah, it really does. And I want to put kind of a finer point, on that's why we feel like that it was really important to, bring this, to the farm to table and
Right.
to the audience here. And so moving right along, it says that the outbreak was engineered to jump from chickens to migratory mallard ducks, spreading globally. But again, let's hear that from cut 2 from Dr. Peter McCullough.
The stated goal of the USDA in doing this research was simply to get it to jump from chickens into mallard ducks, and that way it could spread all over. So it's a bad line of thinking to continue to do gain of function research. And I hope under the new administration, one of the very first steps taken by the U.S. National Institutes of Health, the CDC, and the NIH would be to do an all-out ban on gain of function research, certainly in U.S. labs and our funding of labs outside the United States, because we know it's not just the government that funds this research, but also Gates Foundation, many other pro-vaccine foundations are ramping up gain of function research. Even in the initial spending bill that the U.S. House of Representatives had, that Mike Johnson initially presented, there were 12 more U.S. biolabs proposed.
Yeah. Okay. So what say you about that information?
Well, one, it's not just about science. I mean, gain of function and research and everything. Yeah, it's under the guise of science, but it's about ethics.
Mm-hmm.
It's about accountability and risk. But let's play the devil's advocate for a second.
Well, which you're good at.
Anyway, counter arguments to this is simply that, that it's been around for decades. This H5N1, it's been around forever. It's documented, right? It's been around.
Yeah.
And guess what? It says especially problem is large-scale industrial farming systems where they're in close proximity, high-density areas. They're closed in, and they say that it can mutate without the need for human intervention. All right. That this H5N1 can mutate
now, wait a minute.
on its own.
Let me be clear about what you're saying there. You're saying that it could mutate on its own to become more infectious and more deadly, or are you just saying?
They're just saying viruses like this are known to mutate as they spread.
Well, I get it.
Yeah,
But
right now they're saying gain of function is heavily regulated and experiments undergo rigorous ethical and safety reviews before approval. And it says, while concerns over lab leaks are valid, allegations without supporting evidence can lead to misplaced fear and distrust in scientific institutions.
Okay. So what you're saying is that we should trust the experts because they're trained, highly trained individuals, and they know what they're doing, folks. Is that what you're saying?
That's what they're saying.
Oh, that's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying.
Well,
I'm
I mean,
saying,
why don't we? Why don't we just, leave our fate in the hands of the experts? Why don't we do that?
I think once upon a time we did, and we see where it got us. I mean, I think that, you take a look at these so-called experts and these so-called rigorous things. Okay, first and foremost, folks, I worked for the government for a few years. Ain't nothing private proof.
So what you're saying is they put their pants on the same way we do.
Yeah, they're human beings.
And you're saying those make mistakes.
I'm saying that having a degree and being educated and having all these great, wonderful things
right
doesn't stop you from being a dumb thing.
Okay. Can you bleep that anyway? Bleep that thought anyway. So, what could go wrong, honestly,
right.
with trying to get it to mutate into a mallard duck.
Well, that one is one I go back to. Why?
For what purpose?
I mean, that's the answer to the question. Why? I like what Robbie said. Wild Huckleberry said sometimes they do know what they're doing, but I don't like what they're doing. And I think that might be the accurate,
that's a loaded statement.
I mean, they know what they're doing, but I don't like what they're doing.
That's clever.
But no, I mean, why would you put this into a migratory animal?
Right. In my
I
simple
understand
way
what
of
a cross
thinking.
species. I mean, I kind of understand to see if it'll cross a species, but why are you going to pick something that if it escapes, it's going to migrate all over the country? It's going to spread to others. It's going to migrate. It's going to infect farms. It's going to do what, I mean, because this is not even, we're talking thousands of miles that them things can migrate. This affects farmers. This affects, all kinds of stuff that this can affect over and over again. So why?
So not only are they highly trained and know what they're doing, as Robbie over there cleverly said.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that they're trained in containment, right? That they're not going to let that research get out of control.
Wuhan.
Okay. So I want to hear what Dr. Peter McCullough says about that.
Let's
go. Cut number 3, Mr. P.
Got you.
So, from your perspective, is this an act of malice or incompetence? I mean, is this just an instance of the government not knowing what it's doing, or is there an intentional malicious nature to this gain-of-function research?
The overall design of the research in terms of getting the viruses to do way more than what they would do in nature, in many ways, I think is viewed by those doing the work as a scientific achievement. The incompetence is the lab leaks. Now, it turns out that lab leaks are numerous. And once we start working with animals, particularly mallard ducks, which can escape.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Lab leaks are numerous, but I don't know if you noticed that, but whenever he was being asked that question, where it was intentional or not, he was kind of like, it's almost like he was studying what he was going to reply to that.
He was thinking about, how am I going to answer this? That's a fact.
He said, I think that they're, maybe think that they're doing good science, but the truth is.
Well, if we're going to be generous and say, okay, there's no ill intent, that the actual intent of this is to prevent possible pandemics or to have things ready, for potential things of something that has not ever happened without man interfering.
Right.
I mean, yes, they mutate. Viruses mutate, and they're, and crossbreed, those things. But, bird flu, I find it ironic, just saying, that the only thing we're hearing about bird flu and H5N1 and everything else is chickens and cows. Why are birds not falling from the sky?
Now, that's an interesting statement. And maybe they are. Maybe it's the tree falls in a forest.
Right. But I'm just, it's.
But it would be noticeable, right?
But why is it poultry and beef?
And by nature, also milk, raw milk. Well, and we're going to get into that a little bit.
But in theory, yes.
Yeah.
And it's like, the consequences of that. Like I said, you're talking about the cost. You're talking about affecting so many areas, but I don't know. I just don't buy into, what's the word I'm looking for? Accidental. Incidental. Yes, accidents happen, but again, I go back to why are you tangling with this to begin with? And why is the USDA doing this? If they're the ones.
Right. Well, it is USDA backed.
Right.
From my understanding, the research is.
And
so let's say, these mallard ducks, they do get out and they become a vector for the spread of this disease and or this virus. what are some of the known fallouts behind that? And what I'm talking about a little bit more specifically is the culling that goes on that governments do.
I'm gonna enter Dakota. I don't know why you didn't get a notification.
Did you turn the notifications on?
We had this. Was it on?
Well, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not algorithms.
Nope. Anyway,
it's because we suck.
We don't know, Dakota. That's the answer. But anyway, welcome in.
Yeah,
Glad to have you with. I was hoping I'd see your name up there. This is a topic. And okay. He's even got a comment. He's starting in right now. Let's go. Let's see. Bring that up.
I'll bring that up.
Yeah.
You got it? Okay, cool.
All right. Here's what I don't buy into. I don't believe that it is jumping to other species by accident. I do believe that bird flu exists within the parameters it has always had. Barns filled to the gills.
There's more.
He's got more.
Okay, but there's more.
But there's more.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, it's good. I want it.
Right.
But it's nothing more than a gain of function that has allowed it to jump to mammals. And what is gain of function? A GMO. They are GMO and us to death. Yeah.
Right. And Dakota, that's basically what Dr. Peter McCullough is saying, is that it was totally irresponsible what they're doing. It was that their thought process in this whole thing was that why would you put it into a mallard duck and then something that migrates? Well, it's easy now for if it escaped, and I'll put that in quotation marks, escape
Right.
from a lab, it's easy for them to start the spread of that during a migratory move, right?
Right.
And they can land on ponds and small farms and big farms. And, well, you can imagine what that could happen. And I think that's pretty much what his allegations are, is that's exactly what happened. And there was a picture, and I'm not going to bring that back up, but there was a picture that was showing all signs pointing to Athens, Georgia,
Right.
to that lab to where the USDA was doing the gain of function research that has been,
Right.
sort of denied, right? But look at what it's doing to our food supply.
And saying to me, that's the big concern, is not only what it's doing to the actual supply and the price of that supply, but, and we'll get into this in a minute, I know, and that is the historic overreaction.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, when you start talking about, and yes, the big concern is in the flat and in the large commercial flocks.
Right.
And I will not, from known experience, yes, there's 15 to 30 something thousand birds packed into a house.
Right.
And they eat, sleep, pee, poop, breathe, everything in this contained environment that has fans and everything, and it's all this other stuff. But I mean, if you or I did that, we would get sick. So, or we would be prone to sickness. So,
okay. So you work for the industry.
Unfortunately, yes.
And I asked you a question earlier, and that was that, have you ever seen one of these large killings at a farm?
Unofficially, yes.
On an unofficial note, yes, you have.
Unofficially, yes.
Right.
I have I know what happens when we have a suspected case, and
right.
Or a verified case, but unconfirmed, officially. We have to, they have to notify the USDA. They have to notify the appropriate authorities, but I'm just saying, it's like, it's one of those things that happens. Yeah, I like that, Dakota. For the wild ducks are not falling at a 90% fatality rate. No kidding.
Right. And you made that point sort of earlier.
Right.
Why aren't they falling from the sky? Yeah,
right. And, but in the commercial poultry industry, there's a practice in place that is, they get a certain number of birds, say they get 3 or 4, they find infection, they find bird flu in a house or on a farm.
Yeah.
Right. Well, certain people, and Joel Soliton and a few others are one of those people that says, well, do herd immunity, remove the sick birds, leave the ones that are not showing any symptoms that are fine. Save those, leave those birds, because if they're not getting it, it's not spreading through and they're not sick, because it's not going to be, most of the time, it's going to be spread.
Mm-hmm.
Leave them alone and let them go, because, they're obviously not having a problem. But the policies basically are that, well, it's better to eradicate the entire house or possibly the farm and take that loss than to risk it spreading, because it is contagious among them and it could move from farm to farm, and spread, because it is airborne, and
Right.
so, it's, so I understand their concern, but yeah, I have witnessed the mass. They call it culling. I don't call it culling, because culling is going through and picking out the dead ones and leaving the live ones there.
I see.
That
Right.
to me is culling, but
Right. This is just straight killing.
It's mass extermination.
Yeah. Mass extermination.
And they do it humanely.
Okay.
I'm using their word, not mine.
They got to
But-
get the humane
Right.
part in there somehow. So.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying it's it's an ugly process, but I mean, and there's other things besides bird flu that they get and stuff that we have to, biosecurity is a huge, huge thing.
Oh, I can only
Right.
imagine. And I
so-
mean, to a certain degree, it needs to be that way. But, if I was picking up on Dakota over in chat, I'll just ask you, Dakota, what do you think about these large farms? And what I mean by that is because they're crowded in together. And I know that there are some proponents that, well, not proponents, opponents of those mass farms and stuff like that.
Right.
But those, that brings up a really serious question. They feed a lot of people.
Your nephew is being funny.
Yeah, my brother over here, I'm telling you.
But I'll take that. And I don't know who Roger Cronkite was, but
Oh, right. I remember Peter Concrete.
no, I remember.
What was it? Walter.
Walter.
Cronkite,
Sorry.
yeah, Walter.
Yeah, Walter. I'm thinking-
You were almost there, Cody. You were almost
Hey,
there.
I'll take, but I'll take. I know where you're going, and I'll take it.
Yeah.
But anyway, no.
So yeah, what about the price? Something like that happens, and they start calling for the shutting down or the mass killings or extermination of farms, and even going to a further reach and start saying you can't grow chickens in your backyard, or you've got to stop selling eggs to your neighbor.
Right. And, and that's the ultimate, I guess you would say concern or fear, is how far, again, like we talked about, typical government, typical people overreaction, because I mean, okay, listen, I work in an industry that is very unpopular. Okay. Now everybody likes to eat their chicken,
Mhm.
but nobody wants to,
They don't want the grisly details.
well, right. They don't want to know. Now, I mean, a lot of people raise their own chickens and, and they do it the right way, and it's whole and it's healthy and great. Thumbs up. Okay. But even with that, much like what you did with Jack at the rendezvous,
Right.
most people don't want any part of the business end of that operation.
That operation. Yeah.
Right. They just want their chicken nuggets and their chicken strips and their legs and their thighs and all that stuff to show up, ready to go. And so consequently, they don't really want to know. And, I talked about it on the show the other morning. This industrial farm, why, it exists, even though majority of people find it disgusting or reviling. They wish it wasn't. But yet, that's the system that's been built. We can see your, weird. But anyway, it's, yeah, it just kind of becomes, what's the word I'm looking for here? The system is moving in such a way. Nobody wants to see it. Nobody wants it to be their neighbor. Nobody wants it to be, in their general vicinity of their home. Nobody wants to deal with the fact, and they don't want to be around the plants and all that stuff. And I understand. I mean, I work around it. I understand. I wouldn't want it in my backyard. I wouldn't want it to be my neighbor either. And I work in it. But, it is the reality of the fact that is the current food supply. Now, there's the only way to get away from that is to stop using that food supply.
Yeah, I don't see that.
And I don't see
happening.
330 million people plus whatever goes around the world
No,
doing that.
That's not even
So
living in the world of reality. I don't think
Right.
that's ever going to happen, to be
Right.
honest with you.
So then it comes into being smart. Then it comes into using practical practices. And I think in some of the cuts coming up, I think that Dr. McCullough talks about that. But there are practical cuts. But I mean, like I said, that culling process and what they call a culling process.
I won't be able to close comment because I guess apparently we can't say culling.
Apparently,
in the chat.
you know, on the comments, it's let me see what he said. We have mycoplasma. We went back and forth about culling and decided against it to build immunity in the flock. It's went well. And that is, you know, and that's, I mean, it's kind of getting, you know, we're kind of getting a little ahead, but it is what, you know, even, you know, Joe Salatin, a lot of other people, that's what they say. Take the sick, separate them, whatever, let the ones that are healthy build the herd immunity. Let them do that, because especially backyard flocks, especially, you know, smaller flocks like what you run to where that's your, you know, that's your flock, that's at your house, and you're going to keep those chickens laying eggs and stuff for a long period of time. A commercial chicken goes from a little chick that you can hold in your hand to a 7.5 pound bird in 50 something days.
Yeah, insane.
You know, so when you have that going on, you're not gonna, you know, you don't have they're not there long enough to develop that immunity. Now, the only place I could see where it would happen would be in the breeding houses, the egg house where they lay eggs.
Mm-hmm.
That if those birds were allowed to develop the immunity, then because they keep those in a breeding house for 10 months, laying eggs. Well, then, yeah, then it goes into the egg, because then now that egg that becomes a chicken, you know, that's where you would have to develop it at, is on the breeding side. But
yeah, I don't. Yeah.
But anyway,
I don't know that they'll let you type this word in the, you know, over in chat, but we're about to talk about, you know, some of the solutions that I've already heard coming out from, let's say, important professionals, just talking about what are we waiting on? Let's start the vaccines early and get ahead of this thing.
Right.
Okay. And so, I just want to say that Dr. McCullough's stance on avoiding mass vaccination campaigns for bird flu have historically backfired, and I'm just going to let him talk to that for just a second. Cut number 5, Mr. P.
Vaccinating either humans or poultry for bird flu is a giant mistake, and this is the reason why. In China, they've actually tried vaccinating the poultry now for about 2 decades. It's backfired. It's made the virus spread even more. The vaccines are not sterilized, and so the animals can be vaccinated and carry the virus. The same thing is true in humans. Now, in 2021, the FDA did approve the CSL Seqirus antigen-based flu vaccine, but we've carefully looked at the package insert, and there were far more deaths in normal human volunteers who took this bird flu vaccine. They took it voluntarily to be in the clinical trial than placebo. This is very disturbing. This is with an antigen-based vaccine. The U.S. has poured a huge amount of money into Moderna to make a messenger RNA bird flu vaccine. And now we have Dr. Wen coming on all the TV shows, pushing the Biden administration to get this bird flu vaccine out. It looks like it would be dangerous. It would be
right. So, there we have it. That's his opinion on this mass vaccination.
Well, right. And I think he's, there's a lot to it. I mean, we can go back just this few short years ago to the push through of a rushed vaccine.
Right.
Or allegedly rushed or whatever. I don't know. Depending on your take on things. But either way, it didn't go through what we knew as normal protocol.
No, it did not.
Right. It got a lot of stuff and as we talked about, the medical, it has an immunity, they're immune from any prosecution, lawsuit, whatever. But, he suggests natural immunity, and what Dakota was just talking about, about herd immunity, natural immunity for livestock, practical tools to protect workers, preventive measures like nasal sprays and gargles. Mm-hmm. May sound small, but they can make a big difference on the ground, because let's keep this in mind. This is an airborne.
And I'm glad that you brought that up, that this is airborne, because, we had just done a recent show to where we were talking about how this avian flu or avian virus spreads, and because it's airborne,
right.
One of the things that was explained is that every virus has its preference about where it's going to live, right, or where it's going to spread to, and this particular virus wants to be in the lungs. It's not actually a food-borne virus, right? And so unless you aspirate it, or unless you just inhale droplets from
literally
it,
you're snorting
your food, which I think Dakota over there, I've heard him snort while he's eating.
That Cody fella that was up here earlier.
We plead the fifth over here.
Yeah. But anyway, unless you snort your food or inhale it like that, then the risk is really very low. And if you cook your food, it's going to get rid of it anyway. But it's just funny to me that as soon as there's any mention of that you have this call out to, hey, let's get ahead of it, and we've got vaccines already prepared to go. Why don't we get ahead of this thing?
Right.
And
that's a concern. Now I'm going to jump up here for just a second.
Yeah.
And kind of back.
Which
through
one
there.
are you looking at?
Let's start with the top up there. Factory farming. Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. Okay. You got it over there. Right. Somebody do it.
I'm about to say,
Somebody click. Yeah, there you go. I don't have the clicker, so
there it is.
Factory farming could be replaced, but people ain't willing to pay a couple of bucks more for food, but they'll pay $15,000 a year on insurance.
Yeah, we came into that. We talked about
that. Was a heavy discussion today.
That my insurance plan, because I don't have health insurance. Don't tell anyone. But I don't have insurance. Because we are basically self-pay. Whenever I go into a doctor, I ask them, how much is this going to cost me? And I pay in advance if I possibly can.
Right.
Okay. And then
we'll say, go ahead.
But so my insurance policy is stay well. In other words,
don't get
food
sick.
My medicine. Don't get sick, or do our best to just do, to eat healthy, good food that makes,
and you're right, Dakota, the excuse to GMO the birds. I mean, that's, hello to 3B. Glad to see you join us in here. Glad y'all guys joined in. We're talking about, vaccines, and we're talking about what his claim was. Well, let's play the devil's advocate again. Another claim worth addressing is Dr. McCullough's stance against mass vaccination campaigns for animals, which he argues have historically backfired. While it's true that vaccine implementation in animal populations can face challenges, such as limited efficacy, or logistical hurdles, vaccines have also been incredibly effective in managing or even eradicating certain diseases in livestock. Rabies and foot and mouth disease are prime examples. And current advances in mRNA vaccines offer promising developments in avian influenza prevention. Many experts see targeted vaccination as part of a broader strategy to prevent outbreaks along biosecurity and monitoring efforts. Blanket opposition to vaccination risks stalling innovation that could offer long-term solutions.
Okay, so you're stopping progress, right?
That's what they're saying.
So what they're saying is that they, that particular attitude is that, maybe a person who really didn't believe in God and said that we're here, maybe that is one thing that they could reasonably say is that science is better than nature, and we got a brain. Why don't we use it to do those things, right? But if you're like me, I think God had that system already set up.
Yeah, I think he's pretty, I think he did a pretty good job.
Right.
That we probably shouldn't be messing with. And that does get into the GMO, and Dakota, I'm going to be talking to some other parts of that tomorrow morning on the morning show as far as CRISPR
CRISPR-Cas9. Yeah.
Tune in bright and early for that. So.
Yeah, 6 a.m. But right here on the Farm to Table Direct Show in the morning edition. But anyway,
Right. I just want to say, Robbie said that the V word is something that he don't care to hear. He don't care for that.
I'm with you.
100%. We do not agree.
Right. Hey, just on a side note, is I guess that was one of the reasons that a lot of our military got canned, is because they refused the V word.
You know, and I'll jump in on that one as somebody who was in for so many years. You know, back in 03, 04 time frame, when we were going over to Kuwait and Iraq, we had to get this one, but it was anthrax vaccination, right? Anyway, we're going to get to that comment in just a minute. It was anthrax vaccination, you know, and I was pretty adamant about the fact that I didn't want that. Okay. I mean, I was pretty set. Nope, you ain't sticking that stuff in me. I'll take my chances.
Right.
Well, there was a lot of other folks in the military that took the same stance. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was in the middle of my career, and when people start getting put in jail,
right.
Yeah, you got to reevaluate the situation just a little bit. And so, you know, I said, well, crap, I ain't going to jail, you know, not over that. So started the process, and, you know, then kind of, you know, U.S. Supreme Court came out and said that basically they couldn't do it, which is funny because then in what you're talking about now under the previous administration, you know, they were being booted out of the military for refusing this vaccination, right? Which was violation of the Supreme Court. You know, the Supreme Court had already ruled, you know, 20 years before, almost 20 years before, that was unconstitutional, informed consent, that type of thing, right? So now we've seen an executive order signed yesterday reinstating those people and back pay with remuneration. And back pay with remuneration means that they should get the promotions that they would have been due in the same amount of time. So,
yeah, and I agree with that.
Right. So we see where that's it. Now Dakota's got some more comments that we can share because listen, bro, we share them, Dakota, because we like them and because they stir the conversation.
They stir something, don't they?
You know, at the end of the day, we're all at the will of God. We can spend as much money on food or insurance premiums as we can, but it's futile in the end. I emphasize quality of life over length of life. Anyway, agreed. It says, and then he says, I will never take another V in my life. Made that decision well before COVID. And he says, I blame some of my issues on anthrax vaccination. You know, I hadn't really thought about it.
I didn't know
because, like I said, I didn't go all the way through the cycle, but I did. I did take some of it, and so it's possible. I hadn't thought about that one.
Well, I tell you, it kind of enrages me a little bit to think that some government owns a soldier's life. They've rented it for a while.
Oh yeah,
and they could lose their life, no doubt about it. But to use them for experiments that we know that they have done in the past,
that's historically proven.
This is a historically proven fact, and that angers me. And it seemed to me that last night, during President Donald Trump's speech, he kind of hit that a little bit, didn't he? Talking about how he was just that they were just going to be there to do the job that they signed up to do, and that is to win wars, to be a fighting machine, I guess. But not to be used for experimentations, both social and physical experimentation.
Right, let's see. Boy, all right. Now Robbie's jumped. Robbie and yeah, go up one more.
Here?
Yeah, right there. Yeah, Robbie and Sonia have jumped on with us. Working for a hospital, many lost their jobs because one government agency decided we had to have a COVID vac to keep our jobs. That is so very, very wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
He thinks many should sue if they got sick from it. That was what I'm saying. And then I have to agree with you a little bit on this one. You can have your remuneration. Give me my money. I'm taking my walking papers. If I was active duty and all that went down, my kids won't serve. I've learned my lesson for them. Yes, sir.
Man, that's a whole other can.
That's a whole other show. And
Dakota, right.
I've told people all along, my son, my kids, but my son in particular, never, he had no interest in serving, and I never pushed him in that direction, because I will tell you, from a career in the military, my kid paid a bigger price for that time than I ever will, because he didn't have me because I was doing that. So,
I see.
He paid a bigger sacrifice than I ever did.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I'm with you, Dakota. And Keith and I have discussed that at length. And, so just say we agree with you on that.
Right. And I wish, make patriotism great again.
That's it.
But
Well, fix,
trust great again.
fix things.
Yeah.
And
Fix
that's
some
it.
stuff.
Fix things. But,
Yeah.
and what we're talking about, kind of has led into, and I don't know, are we done with cuts? Did we make it through them?
No, we had one more
So,
one more
'cause it's
cut,
about
and I'm just going to
policy.
go ahead and play that,
Yeah,
and
go
we'll
ahead and
just
play it
make a
because-
comment. And give me cut number 4.
Now, of interest, we have not had large numbers of animals die. I attended the University of Arkansas Bird Flu Summit. The estimate is only about 10,000 chickens have died in the last 4 years of bird flu. However, tens of millions of chickens have been intentionally culled or killed as a biosecurity measure. So you can see the biosecurity measures taken are far worse than the disease itself. The Mallard ducks are developing natural immunity. The farms in cattle and chickens that have not been culled, they develop natural immunity. And just like in decades before, the answer to bird flu is to allow.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Right.
what we're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Dakota. Supreme Court screwed medical workers on that topic. Yes, they did. As far as being able to sue and the vaccines and all that stuff.
I see.
Because, yeah,
Right. Yeah.
He's talked about that, and we were kind of talking about that. I was talking about the culling process, and he's right. Actual number from Beverly versus just the reaction to it, or the getting rid of it in that way. And I would agree. But, he's pretty clear, Dr. McCullough is, in his statements about banning gain of function research as non-negotiable.
Right.
That's his stance. And he said policies are too loose and they leave room for dangerous missteps like dual use research that can be weaponized.
Right. And that was an interesting terminology, and maybe somebody understands this far better than I do. But I want to know what it means as dual purpose. Does that mean that, you can do it militarily as long as you do it for humanitarian purposes also?
Right.
I don't know what that means, dual purpose, but that was the stipulation on that.
Right. Well, that it had to serve some type of, hey, Joy Bartlett, glad to have you in here. It does, dual purpose. It's got to have a good purpose. I guess what you're saying, like vaccines or
you mean
prevention.
say as opposed to nefarious only,
right? But
Okay.
it's the thing. But this stuff ties into something bigger, and that's fear and profit.
Yeah.
Because every time we hear about outbreaks, the headline focuses on worst case scenarios. Skyrocketing mortality rates, doomsday predictions. And he says, Dr. McCullough says, that there's been no human-to-human transmission of H5N1. It's not happened here in the U.S., and the mortality rate is much lower than reported. That's his stance on that. And, the question is that panic incidental, or does it help drive profits for vaccine manufacturers?
Well, I know how I feel because I've watched it happen.
Right.
This fear mongering that happened and this sudden panic, caused us to shut down the greatest economy, the most powerful economy in the world, which I would argue probably killed more people than the C word did.
Right. Well, I would agree.
Yeah.
And it. Gaslighting and stand there, telling us one thing when everything points to the other one, and I may get us a flag for this one. I don't know, but anyway, whatever. It's
Drop
like
it, man. Send it in.
okay, it's like
Send
all
it in.
the push against ivermectin.
Right.
All this campaign against it and against these doctors that were having their careers destroyed because they came out against it. Okay. And everything that happened there. And you look at that and then you go back but now it's okay. You go back and it's like, this was something that was used, it was proved, whatever. But here was the deal. Part of the laws in place for a vaccine to be accelerated and to get the exceptions is that there's no other homeopathic viable solution. There's no other treatment or thing available is part of the thing to get the emergency authorization. So in order to get the emergency authorization, they have to say
there's nothing
this
else
is not
that
credible.
we can do about
right.
that.
This is a horse.
Although we've been doing that for thousands of years,
Right.
like natural immunity.
Right.
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 Yeah. So that dog don't hunt.
Right. Exactly. And that's, that's where things get sideways, and I'm hopeful. I don't know if I'm being optimistic. I'm hopeful that, if RFK Jr. is able to get through the nomination process and get confirmed, that maybe we'll begin to see some of these changes at the top.
Well, right now it looks to me like common sense has come back to America a little bit. Don't you think? It seems to me that this current administration is blatantly, and why don't I say blatantly, just pointedly, saying, exactly what they mean.
Right.
And that's refreshing because, all of this smoke and mirrors and obfuscation and this gender ideology stuff and all of those types of things, that the woke ideology is more what I was saying.
Well,
and that stuff seems to me is like on the way out,
right.
but we'll see.
Now he put a pretty clear message. I mean, we've seen more of this than what we shared here, but America, that we need transparency, accountability, and real prevention strategies that prioritize people over profits. It's time to rethink how we handle these crises.
So are you sure that, in some ways, just who I am, I want to say that I want to give people the benefit of the doubt that, like, their intentions are good, but maybe the outcome is bad.
Well, right.
Something like that.
I don't think we got Dr. Evil necessarily. I think they fired him, but anyway, but I'm saying is we don't have Dr. Evil up there.
Well, he got pardoned.
Right. Well, he got a pardon. Yeah. But I
didn't think he needed it
from federal, not state.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
president can only pardon federal.
Right.
But anyway, hey guys, good to see y'all in. It's been a while since we talked to y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening, guys. I feel like if it doesn't meet the big pharma ideals or doesn't make big corporations like BlackRock, Vanguard, et cetera, then they try to turn masses against the truth.
Yeah,
I would say, yeah. I mean, they use listen, I'm going to get myself in trouble over here, but oh, well, whatever. Ain't the first time in my life I've been in trouble.
Won't be the last either.
Probably not. Take a look at the TV ads. You go sit down and watch regular TV, not paid subscriptions where you don't get commercials and everything else, but honest to goodness, regular TV. And you start counting how many of those ads are from Big Pharma. How many of those ads are from medical treatments and medical drugs and everything else. And now, don't get me wrong, the side effects sound worse than the disease.
They do.
That's what I was about to say. Like all the list of side effects that come with taking all
right.
that stuff.
I mean, it's like, who wants all that?
It sounds more like this when they tell you those disclaimers. And so it's like, I'm not afraid of that.
That auctioneer comes through real quick. Like, hey, how you doing?
Well, I won't go too far into this. But we were watching some TV and I was listening to the, of course the ad's on. I'm doing something else while the ad's on before my show comes on. All I hear is I don't even know what drug they're talking about. I don't even know what they're trying to cure. I don't know nothing about which they don't. There's no cure and there's no profit in cure. But anyway,
right.
But whatever treatment that they were promoting, and it got into the side effects. But I'm going along, and all I hear is rectal bleeding.
And that's it.
I'm out. I'm out.
I'm just saying.
I'm out. Whatever it is.
Hey, that's good information.
I'm out of here.
It helps you to make a good
helps
decision.
You to make an informed decision. I'm out of here. Leave me alone. I don't want nothing to do with this.
Right. I think we need a law that slows down the disclaimers.
Well, but put it in writing. But they use fake news. Yes, they do. David Holly, whichever one of you is talking. Yes, they do.
Well, listen, this entire show was basically aimed at trying to bring Peter McCullough's research opinion and his research and and his allegations to light.
Right.
And I think we've done that.
Oh, yeah.
But, at the end of the day, let's talk about what we walk away from this. Number one, we need to be aware.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't want to be like an ostrich that have my head stuck in the sand.
Right.
I want to be aware of these things, but I don't want to be afraid of them. But I don't also want to get caught up in the trick bag again.
No kidding, right? I mean, I'm with Dakota there and Robbie and everybody. The B word is not in my house, and in that sense of it ain't happening. I didn't get the last one. Oh, I'm sorry, Dakota. I'm sorry, it's not working. Beating my head on the wall trying to figure out how to send this man out of getting pulled.
Right, you're going to have to use
code. We have to code and creative writing. That's it. We're gonna have to come up with
C word. We know what that is. V word. We know what that is.
We're gonna have to come up with the homesteading.
Homestead vernacular.
Yeah, the vernacular
homestead code book, secret decoder ring.
Yeah. That's it.
We want to learn Morse code all of a sudden.
That'll work.
Hey, man, there you go. But yeah, I mean, it is about being aware. It's about being informed. It's about what's going on. So that when the lamestream BS media comes out with their stuff and whatever's happening, they're coming out with all this stuff and saying this, that, and the other. You're not getting caught in it. You're not getting wrapped up in it. I shared it out on our page about, all these different things over the last 20, 30 years that was going to be the end of us.
It'd be the end of the world, right?
Right. Yeah. It's going to kill us all. And in reality is that, lack of truth is the what's going to kill us. Worry, stress, fear.
I agree.
That's what's going to get us.
I totally agree. And we're going to be getting into the solution. I know we doubled down onto the avian influenza stuff because, it's something that we believe that there is a push for right now behind the scenes. Right. And I think most of the people in our audience probably already sees it, knows it's there, but we're just kind of doing our part to bring it to the attention of those who may not be paying attention to it. Well, and really what we want to say is that we do that so that, again, we don't get caught in the trick bag, and that we understand the implications of what's here. Right. So we know who to back, because those people who are speaking common sense is the ones that we need to be putting, getting our weight behind. And we've got a good chance to do that right now.
Absolutely. But we got to be on the ball with it. And, we know that there's a lot of those people up at those higher levels that are not what they claim to be.
Right.
And we also know they've got a major fight ahead with some of the stuff inside these institutions. We got to be realistic about it. You're talking about miles and miles and miles of bureaucrats and regulatory tape and everything else that has to be waded through. Yeah. That's why I was real happy to see the executive order signed about no more regulations until they get a handle on things, and no more certain things. A lot of things can't happen until they get a handle on what's going on. Get in there and do it.
Common sense.
Common
sense.
What you're saying? It sounds like it. But bro, I mean, it is. We. Go ahead. I'm talking about that one medication you're not allowed to talk about, and I can't figure out how to abbreviate it. But I was going to try where to find information on that.
It probably won't let you.
The one that I just mentioned out loud earlier and said I was probably going to get a strike. Yeah.
The I as in ver, as in mech, as in ton one.
I give it a 10. Man, I give it a 10.
You give it a 10.
I give it a 10.
Okay.
But it's and it's sad that we got to be that way on these platforms. I mean, it really is. Yeah. I'm hoping that maybe we'll see some changes there, but I don't know. But truth is truth, and if you presented with facts choose to ignore, well, that's on you. And I mean, at the end of the day, that's on. I like that, the cattle vac.
Yeah, the cattle vac.
There you go.
Right. Or the horse vac, whatever you want to say.
TG Dirt Road Discussions. There you go. Well, it also helps with cancer too. Yeah. TG Dirt Road Discussions. Okay.
Okay.
That's where you can. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's where you can find
on
it
on the SM app. Okay.
Where is that at? Did he say that in the
right up there, TG Dirt Road Discussions, right up, two up. And there we go.
right here?
There you go.
Okay. I'll just put that on screen because
Yeah,
not
there you
everybody can see what's going on over in
Right.
chat.
You know.
And so if anybody wants information on the
Yeah.
I as in ver, as in the
Yeah.
cattle vac,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
TG Dirt Road
Yeah.
Discussions
out.
is where you can
No,
find out
the
information
one that
about
works.
that.
Yeah, the one that works. No kidding.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Hey,
a different.
I'm just saying, I don't have one in my metal kill kit right in here behind this door. I don't have that in my medical box. I'm just saying, it got lost in a fire.
I'm going to share something. So, guy, it's an anti-parasitic derived from soil.
That's
there you
right.
go. I like that. Listen, now I learned something here recently about that particular item because, and guys, if you've got wives, take notes.
Okay.
Apparently, this stuff is like good for the skin. Like you can mix it in with lotion and stuff like that. You can put it in, and it helps with certain things on the skin. My wife could explain it better than me because she had me go get some from the local supply store, and
Oh, really? For her skin.
for her skin, for something
Well,
she's
yes.
doing, something I don't know if it was
Totally
rosacea,
legitimate reason.
something
right.
or another. But she had, and I was like, wow, did not know this. But
Right.
apparently,
Right.
yeah.
Do not ingest.
But,
I'm
yeah.
just kidding.
No new laws. I am with you. You're
Yeah,
laughing. I like that. You
definitely.
are laughing. Yeah, no new laws. Yeah.
Right.
That-
And
that's-
so.
Well, they.
Hey, listen, we're going to be coming into a show next week
Yes, we are.
that is talking about the scale.
The
What
scale.
And we got a scale guy in the house. I
We
think
got a
this is
scale.
different
That's
kind
right.
of scale.
Different kind of scale, though. No, the self-reliance scale.
The self-reliance scale. Where are
You.
you on the self-reliance scale? If
Right.
you want to find out the scale that Ryan and I have been working on, stay tuned next Tuesday. Dakota set a something that don't depend on social media to inform you, but we'll be on again next week, Tuesday
7
at
o'clock.
7 p.m. 7
Yep.
o'clock, right?
And I did. I introduced it, talked about it this morning on the morning edition.
Yep.
About the scale and kind of that question of where are you at. I have cattle, pig, goats for a reason. Absolutely, yes.
Right on.
I'm a huge fan of fish biotics, but anyway.
There you go.
But anyway, anyway, we introduced that. And where are you at on the self-reliance scale?
Right.
And it was kind of a setup and tease for what's coming up this next week, where we're going to break this down, not only what it is, kind of what our plans are, where we're at on the scale,
Where we are.
and Telegram. You're on it tonight, Dakota. Yeah, Robbie, that does sound familiar. Yes, because I opened it up this morning. So if you were curious and you don't want to wait till next Tuesday, you can get a little tease of it from the morning edition.
And for those of you who don't know what the morning edition is, I know that we've got some people in here.
Yeah,
maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't heard
Dakota
it
may
yet.
not be getting notified. So.
But for the past couple of weeks, we've been doing the Farm2Table Direct Show
Morning
morning
edition.
edition with Ryan as your host.
Yep.
And
6
it's a
a.m.
great way to wake up first thing in the
Yeah.
morning or not. Hopefully you've had your cup of coffee, or at least
Get
you
one
can.
while you're drinking.
Right.
doing it.
And Ryan is generally drinking his cup of coffee that time of day. And,
Yep.
if you happen to be headed to work, already at work, or maybe doing some chores around the house, join Ryan for the Farm2Table Direct Show morning edition, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m.
6 a.m. Monday through Friday.
live, and it's a live chat event.
Most time live chat. We talk about some news headlines, a little reality smackdown that one of our great and wonderful supporters gave us the love for that one. Could set it out
Oh,
loud in
right.
chat. And,
Yeah, we stole it.
We
Right.
stole it. Sounded good. And then a little bit of history about what's going on. And then we'll jump into a topic. And, it takes us tend to stay around 30 minutes. It might
Right.
go a little over, but tend to try to stay around 30 minutes. And as Robbie said, great way to start your morning.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Robbie.
Thanks, Robbie. Appreciate it. Him and Scotty and a couple others are solid. They're there. every
That's
morning.
right. We call them now lovingly our early birds.
That's our early birds. They're there with
Yeah,
us, and I
those people
appreciate
in
them.
life. Yeah.
But anyway,
If we had a badge for that, by the way, we would hand
we
a badge out called the early bird badge.
the early bird.
You know what I
badge.
mean?
We would.
Maybe one of these days we'll find a way to give away
Figure that
something
out.
on that
Um,
particular for
Right.
the early birds.
Right.
But you have to be there.
So that goes on. Tomorrow morning, we're going to be talking about, like I said, CRISPR-Cas9. which has to do with genetic modification, has to do with those types of things, and some of the stuff that's going on with that. And we'll dig into that tomorrow for a little while, not too deep, but a little bit.
It's great for a person who doesn't really know, like myself, to learn in the morning.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, it's there you go. And so we got that, and then of course our show next Tuesday about the self-reliance scale. We're going to be doing that. That's our couple of body cam. What? Oh yeah. What do we got here? I got a couple of body cam footage of traffic stops as your show is going in the background as I'm giving them a ticket or warning. Oh, you got to share. You got to share that.
You have to share.
You have to share that. That is like an ultimate promo right there. That is awesome. I'm glad you're listening.
Hey, don't tease me, man. Just don't tease me, David.
Well, I know,
Bring it.
David.
Send it in.
David, I now know you're in the silent listener crew, and that's okay. We appreciate you being there very much.
We love our silent listeners.
Upcoming events. Let me see. Expo, Okie Homestead Expo is about 59 days away.
Is there anybody in our audience that's not going to be at the Okie Expo this year?
Is there anybody not going to be there? That's
right. And one of the things that you and I were talking about, and I know we got to get this thing right.
We do.
But I'm just having so darn much fun. But
it's what happens when we go 2 weeks without a show.
Yeah. But this will be our third one there.
It is going to be our third one.
And I think this one is going to be a hoot because we just know so many more people than we knew last year.
Right. That's what we're talking about. It's just how many more people we're involved with that we know, familiar faces, either online and we've met in person, other places, and just, that it's going to be a lot more fun. And, we don't know where yet. We just know that we're going to be in the vendor barn. This year.
It'll be my second year going.
Yeah, it'll be Dakota's second year.
And I had so much fun last year, even though I was stuck behind a computer screen, but just sitting there and seeing the community that's there.
Show us Dakota back there, just for those people who have not yet met Dakota in the background.
That's Mr. P.
I stay hidden for a reason.
Nonsense. Check out them Coke bottles, man.
Hey. Anyway, I can't help I'm blind, all right?
I'm saying it as I'm wearing glasses, but anyway.
Yeah, that's the one we were talking about, inhaling food, and he could probably catch a virus.
Right. Yeah, maybe. But
virus.
So that's that one's coming up. Is that we've got the Ozark Shindig coming up in April in Jasper, Arkansas. The Homestead Festival in Hardison Mills, Tennessee, right outside Columbia, Tennessee, in June 5th and 6th, I believe, first week in June. Of course, Ozarks Homesteading Expo in September 5th and 6th at Marshfield, Missouri. And then we have got you're going to be awake in the AM.
Oh, Scotty's busting me out because I wasn't an early bird.
He wasn't early. Then we've got,
I'll try,
of course, Homesteaders of America.
Right.
October 11th and 12th, I believe that is, in Front Royal, Virginia. Tickets are still on sale. I checked today, but they're going fast. They will sell out. There will be no day of or any of that stuff. So, and I will say that the speaker lineup, the teaching lineup for every one of those, I don't know about a speaker lineup for the Ozark Shindig, but as far as all the others, the speaker lineups are phenomenal.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
Prices ranging from $50 to $75 for adult passes. So, yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's what's going on. And
all right. So
and I did all that off memory. That's crazy.
That's a first.
Yeah, that is good.
That's what happens when you read them every morning at 6 seconds.
But
anyway, no. Hey, I think we ought to get, we're going to get this out of here.
Yeah, let's roll out, man.
All right.
But guys, we want to thank everybody for showing up tonight and being part of our live chat event and, joining us with topics that we think is extremely important to the homesteading community and people at large. And stay tuned next week.
Put the brakes on.
Uh-oh. What do we got?
Probably not me. Working or protesting or
could be protesting. He's good at it. He's probably
got to end the night with a laugh. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, well, further conversation there.
Yeah, it's probably work related or something like that.
I'm going to give him that benefit.
Or maybe he don't wake up till 10 o'clock or something in the morning.
Yeah.
I don't think that's him.
No. Anyway, and 3B, listen, it's going to be a good time. We look forward to seeing you there. At Okie. And that's going to be great. And like I said, it's going to be fun. Anyway, for those of you who haven't, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. hit the share, hit the subscribe, to follow. We are on. Well, we're not on that one yet. Well, anyway, we're on YouTube, Facebook, and X on this particular show tonight. Right. We're working on getting that going. On the morning show, we also have Rumble over there. So, like I said, get the word out. That helps us spread the word, helps us get the word out to the community about things going on, helps us spread the message of the homestead community and important information like what we talked about tonight. And with that being said,
join Ryan in the morning.
Join me. I'll be up 6 a.m.
Right.
Well, actually, I'll be up a little before, but I'm not going to be happy about it, but I will be up. Yeah. Anyway, so thank you all again for tuning in. And as we always say here, first, hashtag stronger together. Because it takes the entire community, it takes everybody. Yep. We've got to stand together, got to stand strong. And as we always say, as we leave every episode of the Farm to Table Direct Show,
prepare for the unexpected and keep it local.